They say his empire fell because of enemies, but nobody saw the day when the secret that should never exist came back from the ashes to collect what he owed. Nobody saw the moment when the promise he made, to protect someone he should have never touched, shattered like glass. Rain was pouring down, a stray dog bleeding on the sidewalk, and he was carrying in his arms a sick baby who had no one left to defend him. It all started when the judge's daughter discovered the forbidden truth he buried years before, the truth that turned the most feared mobster into the fall nobody expected. Back in the day, he ran the West Side like it was his own kingdom. Cops on payroll, gang leaders bowing down, ex-military colonels who owed him their lives. Dude was untouchable. Ruthless. A straight-up survivor shaped by childhood trauma nobody dared to mention. But there was one place where all that power crumbled: the courthouse. The judge's daughter's house. The only person capable of seeing past his monstrosity, straight into the wounded kid who got beat down by life and never fully stood back up. If you're into stories where secrets that should never exist come back to destroy untouchable men, hit that subscribe button. 'Cause here, every broken promise comes back like a death sentence, and nobody escapes their own past. Real talk, this ain't some Hollywood fairy tale where the bad guy gets redeemed and rides off into the sunset. Nah. This is about guilt that never sleeps, love that scars deeper than any bullet, and the fall nobody saw coming for a mobster who thought he controlled everything. So smash that like button right now, because what's coming next involves ancient guilt, love like a scar, and the downfall that nobody imagined for a man who believed he was God in his own city. This story? It's gonna mess with your head. It's gonna make you question who's really the villain. And by the end, you're gonna wonder if some secrets are meant to stay buried, or if the truth always finds a way to claw its way back up, no matter how deep you bury it. The judge's daughter thought she knew what justice looked like. He thought he knew what survival meant. They were both dead wrong. At his peak, Marcus "Ghost" Castellano controlled everything from downtown LA to the ports of Long Beach. Street gangs? On his payroll. Corrupt cops? In his pocket. Ex-military colonels who fought beside him in Iraq? They owed him their lives and he never let them forget it. Dude was brutal. Fear. Untouchable. A survivor molded by childhood trauma that nobody dared to mention out loud. See, Ghost didn't become a monster overnight. He was made into one, piece by piece, scar by scar, broken promise by broken promise. When he was 7 years old, his mom OD'd in a motel bathroom off the 405. Social services tried placing him in foster homes, but he kept running. By 10 he was sleeping under freeway overpasses, fighting stray dogs for scraps, learning that in this world you either take or you get taken from. By 15 he'd already killed his first man, some predator who tried to touch a kid even younger than him. Ghost didn't plan it, didn't think about it, just grabbed a piece of rebar and swung until the threat stopped breathing. That's when he learned the most important lesson of his life. Violence solves problems that mercy can't touch. He climbed the ranks fast. Started running errands for the Sinaloa Connect, moved up to enforcement, then distribution, then full-blown operations. By 25 he had his own crew. By 30 he owned half the underworld in Southern California. People called him Ghost because when he decided you were done, you vanished. No body. No evidence. Just gone, like you never existed in the first place. Politicians feared him. Rival cartels respected him. Even the feds knew better than to push too hard, 'cause Ghost had dirt on everyone. Judges, senators, police chiefs. Homie had files thick enough to bury the whole system if he wanted to. But there was one place where all that power meant absolutely nothing. One person who could see straight through the armor, past the reputation, beyond the body count, and look directly at the broken, terrified child still hiding inside the monster. Her name was Elena Morales, Judge Morales' daughter. And she was the one thing Ghost should have never touched. Elena wasn't like the Instagram models Ghost usually messed with, the ones who chased clout, designer bags, and bottle service at clubs where his presence alone made the whole room go quiet. Nah, Elena was different. She grew up in Pasadena, went to private schools, graduated from Stanford Law. Smart as hell. Idealistic to a fault. The type who actually believed the system could work if good people fought hard enough. Her pops, Judge Ricardo Morales, was a legend in the California legal system. 30 years on the bench. Incorruptible. The only judge in LA County who'd never taken a bribe, never bent a ruling, never played politics. Ghost hated him. Because Judge Morales was the one man in the city who couldn't be bought, threatened, or broken. The one obstacle Ghost couldn't remove without starting a war he might not win. So when Elena walked into that community center in Boyle Heights, the one Ghost secretly funded to keep kids off the streets, he knew he should have walked away. But he didn't. She was there volunteering, teaching art to kids who'd never held a paintbrush before. Kids who reminded Ghost way too much of himself. Angry, scared, looking for any reason not to become what the world expected them to be. And when she looked up and saw him standing in the doorway, she didn't flinch. Didn't run. Didn't pull out her phone to call the cops. She just stared at him with those deep brown eyes and said, "You gonna help, or you just here to look tough?" Homie was shook. Nobody talked to Ghost like that. Nobody. But something about the way she said it, no fear, no judgment, just straight up challenging him to be more than his reputation. It cracked something inside him that hadn't moved in years. He stayed. Didn't say much. Just sat down with some kids and helped them paint. And when Elena handed him a brush and said, "You got steady hands for someone who uses them the way you do," he realized she knew exactly who he was, and chose to see him as human anyway. That was the beginning of the end. They started talking after that. Not often. Not publicly. Just quiet moments when their worlds accidentally collided. She'd see him at the center. He'd see her at courthouse rallies. They'd exchange looks, the kind that said "I see you" without needing words. Ghost told himself it was strategy. Keep your enemies close, know what the judge's daughter was up to, maybe find leverage if he ever needed it. But deep down he knew the truth. He was drawn to her because she reminded him of the person he could have been if life had dealt him different cards. And Elena? She was drawn to him because she saw the child he used to be, the one who never got saved, never got protected, never got told that he mattered. One night, after a shooting in MacArthur Park left 3 kids dead, Ghost found her sitting on the courthouse steps at 2 a.m. crying. He should have kept walking. Should have stayed in his lane. But instead he sat down next to her. "Why you out here alone?" he asked. "Because the system failed again," she whispered. 3 kids. Dead. And the guy who pulled the trigger? He'll walk. I already know it. My dad knows it. Everyone knows it. Ghost said nothing. "You ever feel like no matter how hard you fight," she continued, "the world just keeps grinding people down?" He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in 15 years Marcus Castellano let someone see the truth. "Every single day," he said quietly. That's when she reached over and took his hand. Not romantic. Not seductive. Just human. Pain recognizing pain. And in that moment, Ghost made the most dangerous decision of his life. He decided to let her in. Their connection didn't start with romance. It started with desperation. She was searching for justice in a system that kept failing her. He was searching for forgiveness in a world that only knew how to punish him. For months they existed in this weird space. Not friends, not enemies, just 2 people who understood that sometimes the line between right and wrong gets so blurred you can't tell which side you're standing on anymore. Elena would text him at random hours. Another case thrown out. Another kid dead. Tell me why I should keep believing in this. And Ghost, the man who'd built an empire on fear and violence, would sit there staring at his phone, trying to find words that didn't sound hollow. Because somebody has to, he'd write back. Even when it's pointless. Especially when it's pointless. She never judged him for what he did. Never tried to save him or change him. She just existed beside him like 2 broken people sharing the same air. But everything changed the night she showed up at his warehouse in Vernon at 3 a.m., rain pouring down, mascara running down her face, her whole body shaking. Ghost's guys immediately reached for their weapons, but he held up his hand. Let her through. She walked straight up to him, and for the first time since they met, he saw genuine fear in her eyes. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. "Something I found. Something that's gonna destroy both of us if I don't." He led her to his private office, the place where he'd ordered hits, negotiated territories, signed death warrants without blinking. But when Elena pulled out a flash drive from her jacket pocket, Ghost felt something he hadn't felt in years. True bone-deep terror. "What's that?" he asked, even though part of him already knew. "The truth," she said. "The truth that should never exist. The truth about what happened 12 years ago. About the boy. About the promise you broke." Ghost's blood went cold. 12 years ago, Marcus Castellano wasn't Ghost yet. He was just Marcus, a mid-level enforcer trying to prove himself, trying to survive in a world that chewed up guys like him and spit them out before they hit 30. He was running protection for a drop in Compton when everything went sideways. Rival crews showed up. Shots fired. People screaming. Complete chaos. And in the middle of all that violence, Marcus heard something that stopped him cold. A kid crying. He found the boy hiding behind a dumpster. Maybe 8 years old. Sick as hell, coughing up blood, skin burning with fever, eyes barely focusing. The kid's mom was dead on the pavement, caught in the crossfire. Nobody coming to help. Nobody giving a damn. Marcus should have kept moving. Should have left the kid for social services or whoever else bothered to show up. But something about those eyes, scared, abandoned, begging for someone to care, it shattered every wall Marcus had built. He picked up that kid and made a promise right there in the rain with bullets still echoing off the buildings. "I got you. I'm gonna make sure you're alright. I swear it." He called his connect, a guy who ran an underground clinic for people who couldn't go to hospitals. Got the kid stabilized. Found a foster family willing to take him in quietly, no questions asked. For 6 months Marcus checked on that boy. Made sure he had food, medicine, a safe place to sleep. Made sure nobody touched him. The kid's name was David. And for 6 months Marcus felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't completely damned. Maybe he could still save something in this world. Maybe one good deed could start to balance out all the blood on his hands. But then the orders came down. The foster family David was staying with? Turns out they were connected to a rival operation. And Marcus's boss wanted to send a message written in blood and fire. "Burn it down," the boss said. "Everyone inside. No witnesses." Marcus tried to negotiate. Tried to find another way. Offered to do the hit himself on someone else, take out 3 targets instead of 1, anything to keep David safe. But the boss was clear: you do this or you're done. And if you're done, you're dead. So Marcus had a choice. Keep the promise he made to a dying kid, and lose everything, maybe lose his life. Or break that promise, and survive. He chose survival. The night of the fire, Marcus wasn't the one who lit the match. But he was the one who gave the address. He was the one who made sure nobody interfered. He was the one who stood outside and listened to the screams. 8 people died that night. David was one of them. And Marcus buried that guilt so deep, he convinced himself it never happened. Built his empire on top of that grave. Became Ghost. The man who felt nothing, feared nothing, remembered nothing. Until Elena pulled out that flash drive. "How did you?" Ghost started, but his voice cracked. "I've been investigating cold cases," Elena said quietly. "Trying to find patterns in unsolved murders. Trying to prove that the system protects people like you while innocent people die." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I found the files. The foster family. The fire. The witness reports that got buried. And I found his name, Marcus. David Reyes. 8 years old. Dead because someone gave the order to burn that house down." Ghost couldn't speak. "I traced it back," she continued. "Every step. Every payoff. Every cover-up. And it all leads to you." She held up the flash drive like it was a loaded gun. "This has everything. Proof. Evidence. Enough to bring down your entire operation. Enough to put you away forever." Ghost stared at the tiny piece of metal and plastic that contained the secret he'd buried for 12 years. The secret that could destroy everything he'd built. "Why are you telling me this?" he finally asked. Elena's voice broke. "Because when I started investigating you, I thought I was gonna find a monster. Just another criminal who deserved to rot in prison." She wiped her eyes. "But then I met you. I saw you with those kids at the center. I saw the way you looked at them, like you were trying to save something you couldn't save in yourself. And I realized you're not a monster. You're just broken. Just like me. Just like everyone the system chews up and spits out." She took a step closer. "I don't know what to do with this," she whispered, holding up the flash drive. "Because if I turn this in, I destroy you. I destroy any chance you have of being more than what you've been. And I destroy whatever this is between us." Ghost reached out slowly and touched her hand. The same hand that held the evidence of his greatest sin. "You should turn it in," he said quietly. "It's the right thing to do. David deserves justice. His family deserves justice. But I broke my promise to him," Ghost said, and for the first time in 12 years, he let himself feel the full weight of that guilt. "I chose my life over his. I'm exactly the monster you thought I was." Elena looked at him with something that broke his heart. Not hatred, not disgust, but devastating sadness. "No," she said. "You're the man who made a terrible choice because the world didn't give you any good ones. You're the man who's been trying to save other kids ever since, hoping it'll somehow make up for the one you couldn't save." She closed her hand around the flash drive. "I'm not turning this in," she said. "Not yet. Not until you tell me the whole truth. Not until I understand who you really are." And that's when Ghost made his second most dangerous decision. He told her everything. Every detail. Every moment. Every nightmare that haunted him for 12 years. He told her about the rain, the blood, the promise, the choice. He told her about the nights he'd wake up hearing David's voice calling for help. He told her about the empire he built trying to bury the guilt, and how it never worked, how it never would. And when he finished, Elena did something he never expected. She wrapped her arms around him and held him while he broke down completely, the first time Marcus Castellano had cried since he was 7 years old. "I see you," she whispered. "I see the child you were. I see the man you're trying to be. And I see the monster you became to survive." She pulled back and looked him in the eyes. "I don't know if I can forgive what you did. But I know I can't let this secret destroy the only person who's ever looked at me and seen past the judge's perfect daughter." She put the flash drive in his hand. "Keep it," she said. "Or destroy it. Or turn yourself in. I don't know what the right answer is anymore." Ghost stared at the tiny device that held his entire past, his entire future. "What happens now?" he asked. Elena smiled sadly. "I guess we figure out if some promises can be kept, even after they've already been broken." "Hold up. Let me ask you something real quick before we get to what happens next. Who crossed the line first? Was it Ghost, trying to protect the only pure thing he'd found in his entire messed up life, knowing damn well he had no right to touch something that clean? Or was it Elena, bringing back the forbidden truth that could destroy the last good piece of him, the last shred of humanity he was fighting to hold on to? Drop a comment right now. Tell me who you think is really at fault here. Because here's the thing, this ain't about good versus evil. This is about two broken people trying to find redemption in each other, and maybe that was the biggest mistake either of them could make. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. Some promises are meant to stay broken. But what happens when the truth crawls back up anyway? What happens when the past refuses to stay dead? That's what we're about to find out. Comment below, Team Ghost or Team Elena? Who do you think pays the price when this all falls apart? 'Cause trust me, somebody's gonna pay. 3 months after that night, Ghost and Elena existed in this impossible space between truth and lies, between justice and mercy. She kept the flash drive. He kept the secret. And they both pretended like they could somehow outrun the consequences. Ghost started pulling back from the operation, delegating more, distancing himself from the violence. He told himself he was being strategic, preparing for retirement, setting up legitimate businesses to wash his hands clean. But the truth? He was trying to become someone Elena could look at without seeing David's blood. He donated to schools, funded after-school programs, set up scholarships for kids in foster care, anonymous, untraceable, guilt money that could never actually buy forgiveness but maybe could save a few lives he didn't ruin. Elena threw herself into her work at the public defender's office, taking cases nobody else wanted, fighting for people the system had already given up on. They'd meet sometimes, late nights at the community center, early mornings at overlook points watching the sunrise over LA, stolen moments where they could pretend they were just two normal people trying to make sense of a broken world. One night, parked at Griffith Observatory with the city lights sprawled out below them, Elena said something that should have been a warning. "My dad asked me about you today." Ghost's whole body tensed. "What did he say?" "He said he knows we've been seeing each other. He said he knows what you are. And he said..." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "He said that men like you don't change. That you'll always be what you were made to be. That I'm making a mistake believing otherwise." Ghost stared out at the city. His city, the empire he'd built on blood and broken promises. "He's right," Ghost said quietly. "No, he's right, Elena." Ghost turned to look at her. "I've spent my whole life becoming this thing. And maybe I can slow down, maybe I can do some good on the side, but I can't undo 12 years of damage. I can't bring David back. I can't erase the bodies. I can't become the man you deserve." Elena grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. "I'm not asking you to be perfect," she said. "I'm asking you to try. That's all any of us can do, just try to be better than we were yesterday." He kissed her then, desperate, painful, like a man drowning and she was the last breath of air. And for one perfect moment, Ghost let himself believe that maybe redemption was possible. Maybe love could save him. Maybe the past could stay buried forever. He should have known better. The truth came out the way truth always does, not with a bang but with a whisper that grew into a scream. One of Ghost's lieutenants got picked up on a weapons charge. Facing 20 years, dude started talking to cut a deal. And what he talked about was the fire 12 years ago, the foster family, the kid, the orders that came down from the top. The feds came knocking at Judge Morales' door at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. They had recordings, wiretaps, witness statements, everything pointing to Ghost's involvement in the death of David Reyes and 7 other people. And they needed the judge to sign the warrant that would bring down the biggest criminal operation in Southern California. Judge Morales read through the file with a sinking feeling in his chest. Because he recognized one name in the evidence logs. One piece of evidence that hadn't been officially submitted yet but was referenced in the preliminary investigation notes. A flash drive. Obtained by Elena Morales. Containing proof of Ghost's direct involvement. The judge closed the file and looked at the federal agent sitting in his living room. Where is my daughter? Elena was at Ghost's warehouse when her phone started blowing up. 15 missed calls from her dad. 20 texts. Voicemails marked urgent. She looked at Ghost and they both knew before she even listened to the messages. It's over, she whispered. Ghost's phone started ringing too. His lawyer. His guys on the street. Everyone reporting the same thing. Feds everywhere, warrants being executed, assets being frozen. The empire was falling in real time. You need to run, Elena said, grabbing his arm. Right now. Get out of the city. I can buy you maybe 2 hours before. No. She stared at him. What do you mean no? Marcus, they're coming for you. They're gonna put you away forever. I know. Ghost's voice was eerily calm. And maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Maybe that's the price for what I did. Don't do this martyr shit right now. I killed a kid, Elena. Ghost's voice cracked. I made a promise to an 8-year-old boy, and then I burned him alive to save my own ass. What kind of man does that? What kind of monster? Elena's eyes filled with tears. A scared one. A broken one. A man who didn't have any good choices. There's always a choice, Ghost said quietly. I just made the wrong one. And I've been running from it for 12 years. Maybe it's time to stop running. The sound of sirens started in the distance. Getting closer. Elena grabbed the flash drive from her pocket. The same one she'd been carrying for 3 months, the proof she'd never turned in, the secret she'd kept to protect him. Then take this, she said, pressing it into his hand. Destroy it. They have other evidence, but this is the smoking gun. Without it, maybe you have a chance. Why would you do that? Ghost asked, staring at the tiny device. Why would you protect me after everything? Elena looked at him with devastating honesty. Because I fell in love with the man you're trying to become. And maybe that makes me just as broken as you. Maybe that makes me complicit in everything you've done. But I can't. Her voice broke. I can't be the reason you stopped trying. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashing through the warehouse windows. Ghost took the flash drive and threw it as hard as he could into the industrial furnace running in the corner. They both watched it melt, watched 12 years of evidence turn to slag. That doesn't save me, Ghost said. They have enough to bury me without it. I know, Elena whispered. But maybe it saves David's memory. Maybe some secrets should stay buried, not to protect the guilty, but to protect the innocent from becoming collateral damage. The warehouse doors exploded open. Federal agents flooded in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Ghost raised his hands slowly. No resistance. No fight. Just acceptance. As they put him in cuffs, he looked back at Elena one last time. Thank you, he said. For seeing me. For trying. For believing I could be more than this. Elena was sobbing now, mascara running down her face just like the night she first came to him with the truth. Marcus. Tell your dad he was right, Ghost said as they dragged him toward the door. Men like me don't change. We just run out of time. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Without the flash drive, the prosecution had to rely on witness testimony from criminals, from people with deals, from sources a good defense attorney could tear apart. But Ghost didn't fight it. Didn't take the stand. Didn't let his lawyers do what they did best. He just sat there every day staring at the empty gallery looking for Elena. She never came. On the day of sentencing, Judge Morales, who'd recused himself from the case but watched every minute from the public seats, finally saw his daughter slip into the back row. She looked destroyed. Hollowed out. Like someone who'd lost a war she never wanted to fight. The judge read the verdict. Guilty on 7 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. Guilty on racketeering charges. Guilty on everything that mattered. 25 to life. No possibility of parole. Ghost stood to hear his fate without flinching. He'd made peace with it weeks ago. But before the bailiffs could take him away, he turned and looked directly at Elena. Their eyes met across the courtroom. And in that moment she saw something that broke her heart all over again. Not regret. Not anger. Not even sadness. Just gratitude. Gratitude that someone had seen him as human even for a little while. Gratitude that someone had believed he could be more than his worst moment. Gratitude that in the end, someone had chosen mercy over justice, even though justice was what he deserved. Elena watched them take him away, chain him up, lock him down. And she realized the horrible truth that would haunt her forever. She hadn't saved him. Couldn't save him. He was always going to fall, because some promises, once broken, can never be kept. The only thing she'd done was love someone who couldn't be loved without becoming complicit in his sins. Judge Morales found her outside the courthouse, sitting on those same steps where Ghost had found her crying years before. "You okay, Mija?" he asked quietly, sitting beside her. Elena didn't answer for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "He was a good man trapped in a bad life. Or maybe he was a bad man who wanted to be good. I still don't know which." The judge put his arm around his daughter. "Maybe he was both," he said. "Maybe we all are. The difference is, most of us never have to choose between our promises and our survival." Elena pulled out her phone and looked at the last text Ghost had sent her, the night before his arrest. "Thank you for seeing the boy I used to be. I'm sorry I couldn't become the man you deserved. But I'm gonna spend the rest of my life trying to make up for the promise I broke. Even if it's from inside a cell. That's my word." She closed her eyes and let herself cry. For David, for Ghost, for herself, for everyone caught in the wreckage of broken promises and impossible choices. The secret that should never exist had finally destroyed him. Just like everyone knew it would. 3 years later, Elena Morales walked into San Quentin State Prison carrying a folder she'd sworn she'd never open again. She'd quit the public defender's office 2 years ago. Couldn't do it anymore, couldn't look at defendants and not see Ghost's face, couldn't argue for mercy when she knew firsthand how complicated that word really was. Now she worked for a non-profit investigating wrongful convictions and systemic failures in the justice system. Quieter work. Less courtroom drama. More digging through old files, finding patterns nobody else wanted to see. And that's when she found it. Another case. Another fire. Another foster family burned alive. 15 years ago. Different city. Different victim. But the same signature. The same cover-up. The same type of evidence that disappeared before anyone could follow the trail. She'd been tracing it for 6 months, and every lead brought her to the same impossible conclusion. Ghost wasn't the first. Before him, there was another man who'd made a promise to a child he couldn't keep. Another man who'd chosen survival over salvation. Another man whose empire fell when the secret he'd buried came crawling back. And before that one? Another. And another. Going back decades. A pattern of powerful men, mobsters, gang leaders, corrupt officials, all destroyed by the same type of secret. A promise made to an innocent and a child who died when that promise was broken. Elena sat across from Ghost in the visiting room, separated by bulletproof glass, connected by a phone that crackled with static. He looked different. Older. Harder. Prison had stripped away whatever softness she'd once found in him. But when he saw the folder in her hands, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Fear. "You found it," he said quietly. Elena's hands were shaking. "You knew. This whole time, you knew you weren't the only one." Ghost leaned back in his chair, that old dangerous calm settling over him like armor. "I suspected," he said. "Couple years before I got locked up, I heard rumors. Stories about guys who fell the same way I did. Secrets that shouldn't exist coming back to destroy them. Always involving a kid. Always involving a broken promise. Why didn't you tell me?" Elena's voice cracked. "Because I thought it was just guilt talking," Ghost said. "Thought I was seeing patterns where there weren't any, trying to make myself feel less alone in what I'd done. But you're telling me I was right? That there's really a, what? A curse? Some kind of cosmic justice system that hunts down men who break promises to kids." Elena opened the folder and spread out the evidence on her side of the glass. "David Reyes wasn't the first child you tried to save," she said. Ghost went very still. "When you were 16, Elena continued, reading from the file, "you were staying at a group home in Riverside. There was a younger kid there. Gabriel Martinez. 10 years old. Severe panic disorder. You looked after him. Protected him from the older boys who liked to mess with him." Ghost's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. "You made him a promise," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You told him nobody would hurt him as long as you were around. You told him you'd keep him safe. Elena, don't. 2 weeks later you aged out of the system. They transferred you to a halfway house across town. And Gabriel?" She looked up, tears in her eyes. 3 days after you left, he had a panic attack so severe he stopped breathing. The staff didn't notice until it was too late. He died alone, terrified, wondering why you didn't keep your promise." Ghost's face had gone completely white. "You didn't know he died," Elena said. "Not until years later. Not until you were already Ghost, already built your empire on the belief that the only person you could save was yourself." She pulled out another file. Then another. Then another. And these? She gestured to the stack of papers. These are all the other men. 15 cases I've found so far, going back 40 years. All of them powerful. All of them violent. All of them destroyed by secrets involving children they'd promised to protect and failed. Ghost stared at the files like they were loaded guns pointed at his head. What are you saying? He asked hoarsely. Elena leaned closer to the glass. I'm saying that maybe your fall wasn't random. Maybe it wasn't just bad luck or karma or the feds getting lucky. Maybe there's something else going on. Something that hunts men like you, forces the truth to surface, makes sure broken promises always come due. That's insane. Is it? Elena's voice rose. Explain to me how in every single one of these cases, evidence that was buried for years suddenly surfaces at the exact moment when these men think they've finally escaped their past. Explain to me how in every case there's someone, a reporter, a detective, a daughter of a judge, who stumbles onto the truth even though it should have stayed hidden forever. Ghost was breathing hard now, that controlled exterior cracking. What happened to them? He asked. The other men. After they fell. Elena's face went dark. Most of them are dead. Suicide in prison. Killed by rivals. One had a heart attack during sentencing. Another. She flipped through a file. Another just vanished after his release. No body. No trace. Like he was erased. The visiting room suddenly felt a lot colder. But here's the thing that really messes me up, Elena continued. In every single case there's another child. A second child that these men tried to save but couldn't. A second broken promise that haunted them even more than the first. She pulled out a photograph and pressed it against the glass. It was a picture of a baby. Maybe 6 months old. Sick. Lying in a hospital bed surrounded by machines. Her name is Sophia, Elena said. She's in County General right now. Foster system. Born addicted to meth. Severe health complications. No family. No one fighting for her. Ghost stared at the photo and Elena watched something break behind his eyes. 2 days ago, Elena said quietly, one of your old guys, the ones who still respect what you built, he came to me. Said you've been asking about kids in the system. Said you've been sending money from your prison account to pay for medical treatments for kids like Sophia. Elena. You're trying to save them from in here, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Even locked up, even knowing what happened last time, you're still trying to keep promises you have no way of keeping. Ghost's hands were shaking now, pressed flat against the glass. I have to try, he whispered. If I don't try, then what was David's death for? What was Gabriel's death for? What's any of this suffering for if I don't at least try to save one of them? Elena felt tears streaming down her face. But what if trying is what triggers it? She asked. What if making these promises is what activates? Whatever this is. What if the universe or God or whatever cosmic force is keeping score? What if it's waiting for men like you to care about something again so it can take it away? The silence between them was deafening. Finally, Ghost spoke, his voice raw and broken. Then I guess I'm damned either way. I can stay silent, stay safe, let these kids die knowing I could have helped, and live with that guilt forever. Or I can make the promise, try to save them, and risk falling even further than I already have. He looked at Elena with devastating clarity. But here's what you need to understand. The fall isn't the punishment. Living with the broken promise, that's the real hell. Every day I wake up in this cell, I see David's face. I hear Gabriel's voice. I feel the weight of every kid I couldn't save. He pressed his palm against the glass, and Elena pressed hers against the other side. So if there's some cosmic force hunting men like me, Ghost said, if there's some pattern of judgment that goes back decades, then maybe we deserve it. Maybe men who promise protection and deliver death don't get to retire quietly. Maybe the universe makes sure we pay. Over and over. Forever. Elena was full on crying now. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry the truth destroyed everything. I'm sorry that loving you made me complicit in all of this. Ghost smiled sadly, that same broken, beautiful smile she'd fallen for years ago. You did save me, he said. You showed me I was still human underneath the monster. You gave me a reason to try. That's more than I deserved. The guard announced visiting time was over. As Elena gathered her files, Ghost said one last thing. The other men in those files, the ones who died or disappeared. Did any of them have someone like you? Someone who saw past the monster and believed they could change? Elena looked through the files, scanning the details she'd memorized. And her blood ran cold. Every single one of them, she whispered. Every man who fell had someone who loved them despite everything. Someone who tried to save them. someone who believed. Their eyes met through the glass and they both understood at the same time. The pattern wasn't just about broken promises to children. It was about hope, about redemption, about the moment when a monster tries to become human again, and the universe makes sure they fail. "Elena," Ghost said urgently as the guard moved to take him away, "you need to stop investigating this. Whatever this pattern is, whatever's causing it, you're getting too close. And if the pattern holds..." "What?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. "Then the next person who falls," Ghost said, "might be someone trying to save someone like me. Someone who believed a monster could change." The phone went dead. The guards dragged him away. And Elena sat frozen in that visiting room, Sophia's photograph still clutched in her hand, realizing she might have just uncovered the most dangerous truth of all. 3 weeks later, Elena sat in her apartment at 2 a.m., surrounded by 40 years of case files, trying to find the origin point of the pattern. There had to be a first case. Patient 0. The original broken promise that started all of this. She was 3 coffees deep and running on no sleep when she found it. A file so old it was barely legible. From 1981. Before computers. Before digital records. A foster care case in the California system. A boy named Thomas. 8 years old. Severe health issues. Placed with a family connected to organized crime. And the man who'd made a promise to protect him? A young soldier just back from Vietnam. Muscle for a growing operation. Man named. Elena's phone rang, shattering the silence. Unknown number. 3M. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello?" Static on the line. Then a voice. Female. "Broken." "Stop looking," the voice said. Elena's heart was pounding. "Who is this?" "Stop looking for the pattern. Stop trying to find where it started. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. I need to understand." "You want to understand?" The voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "There are secrets that should never exist, girl. And men who keep making promises they can't keep. That's the pattern. That's all there is." "But why? Why does it keep happening?" Silence. Then. "Because before Ghost, there was another man who tried to save a child and failed. And before him, another. And before that, another. Going back further than you can imagine. Further than these files go. Further than anyone remembers." Elena's hands were shaking. How far back? Far enough that nobody knows where it started anymore. Far enough that the first broken promise has been buried so deep, so long that it's become legend. The foundation that everything else is built on. "Tell me." "I can't. Because I'm one of them. One of the children who survived when we shouldn't have. One of the promises that was broken and somehow lived long enough to watch the pattern repeat." Elena felt ice in her veins. "What happened to the man who broke his promise to you?" The voice on the other end cracked with emotion. "He spent the rest of his life trying to save other children. Made promise after promise trying to make up for the one he broke with me. And every single promise led to another child dying. Another man falling. Another cycle beginning. Jesus Christ. So stop looking," the voice said. "Stop trying to break the pattern. Because every person who gets close enough to understand it becomes part of it. Every person who tries to save someone becomes the next target. Every person who believes love can redeem a monster becomes complicit in the next fall." The line went dead. Elena sat there in the darkness, surrounded by decades of broken promises and fallen men, holding a photograph of a baby named Sophia who was dying in a hospital right now. And she realized the horrible, devastating truth. Ghost was right. She couldn't save him. Couldn't break the pattern. Couldn't stop the cycle. But maybe, just maybe, she could save Sophia. Maybe one promise kept could start to heal 40 years of broken ones. Or maybe, trying would just make her the next person who falls. Either way, she knew what she had to do. She grabbed her keys, grabbed Sophia's file, and headed for the hospital. Because some promises have to be kept, even when keeping them means risking everything. Even when the pattern says you'll fail. Even when the universe is waiting for you to try, just so it can watch you fall. But nobody knows what happened next. Nobody knows if Elena kept that promise. Nobody knows if Sophia survived. And nobody knows if the pattern finally broke, or if it just found its next victim. Because that story, that secret, is still buried. Still waiting. Still hunting for the next person brave enough, or foolish enough, to believe that love can save a monster. The files are still out there. The pattern is still active. And somewhere in California right now, another man is making a promise to a child he won't be able to keep. The cycle continues. The fall is coming. And maybe, That's exactly how it's supposed to be. If you want to know what happened to the men who came before Ghost, the ones who fell even harder, the ones whose secrets were even darker, the ones who made promises that destroyed everything they touched, that story is coming next. But be warned. Once you start looking for the pattern starts looking for you. That's all I can say. The rest, you'll have to find out for yourself.